The air inside Nexus Station smelled like burnt metal and stale recycled oxygen. Tyler Brooks walked through the crowded marketplace with his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. His ship needed repairs. The fuel cells were dying and he barely had enough credits to fix them. 15 years of drifting through space as a freelance cargo hauler had left him with little to show for it except scars and an old freighter that rattled every time it jumped through hyperspace. He passed rows of vendors selling everything from stolen tech to exotic foods. Station security walked by in pairs, their eyes scanning the crowd but never really looking. This was a neutral zone, a place where laws bent and broke depending on who paid the most. Tyler had been to dozens of stations like this one. They all felt the same. Empty. Corrupt. Dangerous. He was about to turn toward the repair docks when he heard a voice shouting in broken standard. Tyler stopped. The voice came from a side corridor where fewer people walked. He knew he should keep moving. Whatever was happening there was none of his business. But something made him pause. Maybe it was the tone of the voice. Desperate. Young. Tyler moved toward the sound. When he rounded the corner he saw them. 3 girls stood on a raised platform under harsh white lights. They were thin, too thin, with matted hair and torn clothing. Their skin was pale blue with darker markings along their arms and faces. Valorans. Tyler's chest tightened. He had not seen a Valoran in over a decade. A large creature with 4 arms and gray-scaled skin stood beside the platform. A Shrellian trafficker. The alien was speaking rapidly in standard, gesturing at the girls like they were cargo. A small crowd had gathered. Most were looking but not bidding. Trafficking was technically legal in neutral zones, but most species found it distasteful. That did not stop it from happening. Tyler's eyes moved over the 3 girls. The youngest looked maybe 9 or 10 years old. She was crying silently, her small shoulders shaking. The middle girl kept her arm around the youngest, whispering something Tyler could not hear. The eldest stood in front of both of them. Her face was bruised and there were burn marks on her neck. But her eyes were sharp, defiant. Then Tyler saw it. On the eldest girl's left wrist, barely visible under the dirt and dried blood, was a small tattoo. 3 circles connected by a single line. Tyler's breath caught in his throat. He knew that symbol. He had seen it on banners and walls and the armor of soldiers who fought beside him. The Valoran resistance. The mark of freedom fighters who had battled the Crithian occupation for nearly 20 years. Memories flooded back. Tyler had been young then, barely 22 when Earth Command sent his unit to support the Valoran rebels. The war had been brutal. Valorans fought with everything they had. Tyler learned to respect them. To trust them. He had watched Valoran soldiers die protecting human medics. He had eaten their food and learned their songs and promised that Earth would never forget what they sacrificed. When the war ended, Tyler thought it was over. The Crithians withdrew. Valora was free. He went home. But freedom, he learned, did not mean safety. Post-war chaos took over. Warlords. Crime syndicates. Refugees scattered across the galaxy with nowhere to go. And here were 3 Valoran children being sold like animals. The Shrellian trafficker raised his voice. Last call. 3 healthy females. Young enough to train. Starting bid, 500 credits for the lot. Tyler's hands clenched into fists. 500 credits. That was what these lives were worth to this creature. Less than the cost of a decent meal on some core worlds. A rough-looking human in the crowd raised his hand. 300. The trafficker hissed. I said 500. 350, the human countered. They look half-starved. Not worth more. Tyler's vision went red. He pushed through the small crowd. People moved aside when they saw the look on his face. He stepped right up to the platform and locked eyes with the Shrellian. Stop, Tyler said. His voice was calm but carried weight. I'll take them. The trafficker's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You'll take them? You mean you're bidding? I mean I'm buying, Tyler said. All 3. Name your price. The Shrellian's mouth split into something like a smile. Sharp teeth gleamed. For all 3? 800 credits. Final price. Tyler felt his stomach drop. He had 900 credits to his name. That was supposed to cover ship repairs, fuel and food for the next 2 months. If he spent 800 now, he would be stranded on this station with a broken ship and 3 mouths to feed. He looked up at the eldest girl. She was staring at him now. Her eyes were a deep purple color and they showed no hope. Only exhaustion. She had probably seen a dozen buyers look at her and walk away. She expected him to do the same. But then her eyes dropped to Tyler's neck. His jacket collar had shifted, revealing the edge of an old tattoo on his collarbone. 3 circles connected by a single line. The same symbol she wore. The girl's eyes went wide. Tyler pulled out his credit chip and held it up. 800. Transfer now. The Shrellian grabbed the chip with one of his upper arms and scanned it with a handheld device. The machine beeped. Credits transferred. The trafficker tossed the chip back to Tyler and stepped aside. They're yours. No refunds. Tyler climbed onto the platform. The three girls shrank back slightly. The eldest still watched him with wide eyes. The middle girl pulled the youngest closer. Tyler raised his hands slowly, palms out. I'm not going to hurt you, he said in Standard. Then he switched to Valoran, his words clumsy and slow. Safe now. Come. The eldest girl's mouth opened slightly. She said something in rapid Valoran that Tyler could not follow. His language skills were 15 years out of practice. But he caught one word. Resistance. Tyler nodded. He pulled his collar down further, showing his full tattoo. Yes. Resistance. I fought. Long time ago. The girl's legs seemed to give out. She sat down hard on the platform. The other two girls looked confused and scared. The eldest started to cry. Not the silent tears of the youngest, but deep, shaking sobs. She covered her face with both hands and her whole body trembled. Tyler did not know what to say. He just stood there, this rough old Marine who had not felt anything in years, watching a teenager fall apart because someone had finally shown her a symbol she recognized. A symbol that meant someone still remembered. Someone still cared. Station security was watching now. Tyler knew he needed to move before questions were asked. He gently touched the eldest girl's shoulder. She flinched but did not pull away. Ship, Tyler said in broken Valoran. We go. Safe there. The girl looked up at him. Her face was streaked with tears and dirt. She said something to her sisters in quick Valoran. The middle girl nodded slowly. The youngest just stared. Tyler helped them down from the platform. They were so light. Too light. When was the last time they had eaten? The eldest girl could barely stand. Tyler caught her elbow to steady her. As they walked through the station toward the docks, people stared. A human Marine walking with 3 Valoran children. It was an odd sight. Tyler did not care. He kept his eyes forward and his hand resting on the pistol hidden under his jacket. He had 100 credits left. A broken ship. And 3 lives depending on him. Tyler had made worse decisions. Tyler's ship was docked in Bay 17, tucked between a massive cargo hauler and a sleek racing vessel that made his freighter look like scrap metal. The girls followed him in silence. Their bare feet made soft sounds on the metal deck plates. Tyler noticed the youngest one was limping. Her left foot had a deep cut that looked infected. The ship's loading ramp lowered with a hiss of hydraulics. Tyler gestured for them to go up first. The eldest girl hesitated, looking at the dark interior of the ship. She said something in Valoran to her sisters. The middle one shook her head. They were afraid. Of course they were afraid. They had just been bought by a stranger. For all they knew, Tyler was taking them somewhere worse. Tyler stepped past them and walked up the ramp first. He turned and waited at the top, giving them space to decide. After a long moment, the eldest girl took her sister's hands and climbed the ramp. Tyler could see her legs shaking with each step. Inside, the ship was cramped and cluttered. Cargo crates lined the walls. Exposed wiring hung from the ceiling panels. The air recyclers made a constant wheezing sound. It was not much, but it was home. Tyler led them through the cargo bay to the small common area. There were 2 worn couches and a table bolted to the floor. The girls stood in the middle of the room, huddled together. They looked around with wide eyes, taking in every detail. The eldest kept positioning herself between Tyler and her sisters, protecting them even now. Tyler moved slowly to a storage locker and pulled out 3 emergency blankets. He set them on the couch. Then he went to the small galley and grabbed 3 ration packs from the cabinet. He placed those on the table. The girls watched his every move. Food, Tyler said in Standard, pointing at the packs. And blankets. You can sleep here tonight. The eldest girl stared at the ration packs. Tyler saw recognition in her eyes. These were military issue. Earth Defense Force standard rations. The same ones human soldiers had shared with Valoran rebels during the war. Tyler pointed to a door on the left side of the room. Bathroom. Water for washing. He made a gesture like washing his face. The middle girl seemed to understand. She nodded slightly. Tyler knew they would not relax while he was in the room. He moved toward the ladder that led up to the cockpit. Before climbing, he turned back. The girls were still standing in the exact same spot. I'm going up there, Tyler said, pointing to the ladder. You stay here. Door locks from inside. He pantomimed turning a lock. You safe? Understand? Safe. The eldest girl said something in Valoran. Tyler caught the word for why, but nothing else. She was asking why he was doing this. He did not have a good answer, at least not one he could explain in broken Valoran. Tyler just nodded and climbed the ladder. When he reached the cockpit, he sealed the hatch behind him and locked it from his side. The girls would hear the lock engage. They would know he could not get back down without them hearing him first. Tyler sat in the pilot's chair and rubbed his face with both hands. What had he just done? He had spent every credit he owned on 3 children he could barely communicate with. His ship needed repairs he could not afford. He had no plan and no idea where Valoran refugee camps even were anymore. But when he closed his eyes, he saw that tattoo on the girl's wrist. 3 circles. 1 line. He saw the faces of Valoran soldiers he had fought beside. Good people who had died for their freedom. If their children were being sold like cargo, then the war had not really ended. It had just changed shape. Tyler heard sounds from below. Footsteps. Whispered voices in Valoran. Water running in the bathroom. He waited. After about 30 minutes, the sound stopped. He gave them another hour of silence. Then Tyler opened the hatch and climbed down slowly, making noise so they would hear him coming. When he reached the common area, he found all 3 girls sitting on one couch, wrapped in the emergency blankets. The ration packs were open but barely touched. The youngest was asleep, her head in the middle girl's lap. The eldest girl stood up quickly when she saw Tyler. Her hands clenched into fists, ready to fight if she needed to. Tyler raised his hands again. It's okay. Just me. He moved to the other couch and sat down, keeping distance between them. He pulled off his jacket and tossed it aside. Then he unbuttoned the top of his shirt, revealing the tattoo on his collarbone fully. The resistance symbol was faded now, the ink blurred by time and scar tissue. But it was unmistakable. Tyler pointed at it, then pointed at the girl's wrist. Same, he said in Valoran. I fought. 15 years ago. On Velora. The eldest girl sank back down onto the couch. She pushed up her sleeve, showing her full tattoo. It was fresher than Tyler's, the lines still sharp and dark. She touched it with her other hand and spoke in Valoran. Tyler caught a few words. Mother. Commander. That. He leaned forward. Your mother? She was resistance. The girl nodded. She said a name in Valoran that Tyler did not recognize. Then she said it again slower, and this time Tyler's blood went cold. He knew that name. Commander Thela. She had led the 3rd Strike Unit. Tyler's squad had operated under her command for 8 months. She was brilliant, fearless. She had saved Tyler's unit when they were pinned down by Crithian forces. She held a bridge for 6 hours with only 12 soldiers so human medics could evacuate wounded. Tyler had heard she died in the final push to retake the capital. He never knew she had children. Thela, Tyler said quietly. Your mother was Thela. The girl's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. Tyler felt something break inside his chest. He stood up and crossed the small space between them. The girl tensed but did not move. Tyler knelt down in front of her so they were eye level. He spoke in Standard because he did not trust his Valoran for this. Your mother saved my life. She saved a lot of lives. She was a hero. He put his hand over his heart. I owe her everything. The girl did not understand all the words, but she understood the meaning. She started crying again, harder this time. The middle girl woke up and immediately moved closer to her sister. Even the youngest stirred in her sleep. Tyler reached out slowly and put his hand on the eldest girl's shoulder. This time she did not flinch. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against Tyler's shoulder. Her whole body shook with sobs. The middle girl wrapped her arms around her sister from behind. They stayed like that for a long time. Tyler knelt on the cold metal floor, holding the daughter of a woman he had respected more than almost anyone in his life. A woman who died thinking her children would be safe. A woman who never got to see her world truly free. Finally, the crying stopped. The girl pulled back and wiped her eyes. She was exhausted, Tyler could see that. All 3 of them were running on empty. But there was something different in her face now. The hard edge of distrust had softened just a little. She pointed at herself and said a name. Mira. Tyler nodded. Mira. He pointed at himself. Tyler. Mira pointed at the middle girl. Sarah. Then at the sleeping youngest. Tessa. Mira. Sarah. Tessa, Tyler repeated. He stood up slowly, his knees aching. You need sleep. Real sleep. Tomorrow we figure out how to get you home. Mira said something in Valoran. Tyler caught the word for promise. Yes, Tyler said firmly. I promise. I'm taking you home. The ship jumped to hyperspace 3 hours after leaving Nexus Station. Tyler sat in the pilot's seat, watching the blue-white tunnel of faster-than-light travel stream past the viewport. His navigation computer showed their route. 6 jumps to reach Valoran space. Each jump required a stop to refuel and let the engines cool. With the money he had left, Tyler could maybe afford 3 stops. After that, he would have to figure something out. Behind him, he heard footsteps on the ladder. Mira climbed into the cockpit, moving carefully in the cramped space. She had washed her face and braided her hair. The bruises on her face looked worse now that the dirt was gone. "Okay if I sit?" she asked in broken standard. Tyler gestured to the co-pilot's seat. "Sure." Mira sat down and stared out at hyperspace. For a while neither of them spoke. Then Mira started talking. Her standard was rough, full of grammar mistakes and long pauses while she searched for words. But Tyler understood enough. She told him about the refugee camp on the edge of the Outer Rim. After the war ended, thousands of Valorans had nowhere to go. Their cities were destroyed. The government was barely functioning. So they ended up in camps run by the United Planets Coalition. It was supposed to be temporary. That was 12 years ago. Myra's mother, Commander Thela, died 3 months after the war ended. Not in battle. She was killed by looters who attacked a supply convoy. Mira was 4 years old. She barely remembered her mother's face. Their father tried to keep the family together. He worked at the camp doing maintenance. But he got sick 2 years ago. The camp doctors said it was exposure to chemical weapons during the war. His lungs failed. He died in a medical tent with no painkillers because the camp had run out. After that, it was just the 3 sisters. Camp officials were supposed to protect orphans. Instead, some of them worked with traffickers. They identified valuable children. Ones who would not be missed. One night, security guards came to their shelter. They said the girls were being transferred to a better facility. Mira knew it was a lie, but she was 16 and alone with her 2 younger sisters. What could she do? They were smuggled onto a transport ship. Sold to a Shrellian trafficker. Kept in a cargo hold with no light for days. When they arrived at Nexus Station, Mira thought they would die there. "Then you came," Mira said quietly. "You saw the mark." Tyler nodded. "Your mother's mark. I couldn't leave you there." "Why you have mark?" Mira asked. "Humans not Valoran." Tyler pulled up his sleeve, showing the full tattoo. "Your mother gave this to me. After we held the Kethric Bridge together. She said I earned it. Said I fought like Valoran, so I should wear the symbol." Mira reached out and touched the faded ink on Tyler's arm. Her fingers were cold. "Mother was good?" "Your mother was the best soldier I ever knew," Tyler said. "Brave. Smart. She never left anyone behind." Myra's eyes got wet, but she did not cry this time. She just nodded and pulled her hand back. The ship's computer beeped. They were approaching the first jump point exit. Tyler checked the fuel gauge. The main tank was at 40%. They needed to refuel soon. "There's a station 2 hours from here," Tyler said. "Small place. We stop there, get fuel, keep moving." Mira looked worried. "Is safe." "Should be," Tyler said. "It's just a refueling depot. In and out fast." But Tyler was wrong. The station was called Haven Port, though there was nothing safe about it. It was a ring of docking bays built around a fusion reactor. Ships came, refueled, and left. No questions asked. Tyler had used it before. It was cheap and empty, which was exactly what he needed. He docked the ship in Bay 4 and told the girls to stay inside. "Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me." Mira grabbed his arm. "You come back." "I always come back," Tyler said. He left the ship and walked to the fuel station office. The attendant was a Drellian with 6 tentacles and a bored expression. Tyler arranged for a full tank and paid with his second-to-last credit chip. While the fuel pumped, he bought food and water from the station's small supply shop. He was walking back to the ship when he saw them. 3 figures in dark armor standing near his docking bay. They were humanoid but bulkier, with helmets that hid their faces. Bounty hunters. Tyler had seen enough of them to recognize the type. One of them was scanning something on a handheld device. It beeped, and the hunter looked up directly at Tyler's ship. Tyler's hand moved to the pistol under his jacket. He walked faster, trying to look casual. But the hunters noticed. They started moving toward Bay 4. Tyler broke into a run. He hit the docking bay door control and slammed his fist on the panel. The bay doors were closing, but too slowly. The hunters were 30 feet away. 20. One of them raised a weapon. Tyler drew his pistol and fired twice. The shots hit the hunter's chest plate and sparked off the armor. The hunter staggered but did not fall. The other two took cover behind cargo containers. The bay doors sealed. Tyler ran up his ship's ramp and hit the emergency close button. The ramp retracted just as energy blasts hit the hull outside. Tyler could hear them pinging off the metal. He scrambled up the ladder to the cockpit. Mira was already there, her hands on the controls. Her eyes were wide with fear. "What happening?" she shouted. "Bounty hunters." Tyler threw himself into the pilot seat. "They found us." "How they know we here?" "I don't know." Tyler's hands flew over the controls, starting the launch sequence. The engines whined as they powered up. Too slow. Everything was too slow. More impacts hit the hull. The hunters were trying to breach the bay doors. "Sarah." Mira shouted down the ladder. "Need you now." The middle sister appeared, climbing into the cockpit with Tessa right behind her. Sarah was 13 but small for her age. She squeezed past Tyler and started working on a secondary control panel. "What are you doing?" Tyler asked. Sarah did not answer. Her fingers moved fast, entering commands Tyler did not recognize. Suddenly, the ship's shields activated. Tyler had not even known his shields were functional. They had been offline for months. "How did you?" "Father taught me," Sarah said in halting standard. He was engineer. The engines finally hit full power. Tyler released the docking clamps and pulled the ship up. The bay doors were still sealed, but Tyler did not care. He angled the ship's nose down and fired the forward thrusters at full blast. The exhaust melted through the bay doors in seconds. Alarms screamed. The hunters scattered as superheated metal rained down on them. Tyler punched the throttle and the ship shot out of the station like a missile. Behind them, two small fighter craft detached from the station and gave chase. Bounty hunters with pursuit ships. Tyler cursed and banked hard to the left. Energy blasts streaked past the cockpit. "Shields holding," Sarah reported calmly. She was watching the power distribution like she had done this 100 times. Tyler dove toward a nearby asteroid field. The fighters followed. He wove between massive rocks, using every trick he had learned in 20 years of flying. The fighters were faster but less maneuverable. One of them clipped an asteroid and spun out of control, exploding in a ball of fire. The second fighter was still on them. It fired again. The blast hit the rear shields. Sarah's hands flew over the controls, rerouting power from life support to reinforce the damaged section. "Can't keep this up forever," Tyler shouted. Mira leaned over his shoulder. "Jump to hyperspace." "Can't jump inside an asteroid field. We'll hit something and tear apart." "Then go faster." Tyler pushed the engines past their safety limits. The whole ship shook. Warning lights flashed across every panel. But they pulled ahead of the fighter just barely. Tyler spotted a gap in the asteroids ahead, a clear corridor to open space. He aimed for it and prayed. The ship burst out of the asteroid field into empty space. Tyler immediately activated the hyperdrive. The engines screamed in protest but engaged. The stars stretched into lines. The fighter tried to follow but did not make it. It exploded against an asteroid at the field's edge. Tyler let out a breath he did not know he was holding. They were safe. For now. He looked at Sarah. The girl was still calmly adjusting power levels, bringing the shields back to normal operating capacity. "You saved us," Tyler said. Sarah just shrugged. "Father said always know your ship." Tyler turned to Mira. Her face was pale. "They knew we were there. They were looking specifically for you three." "But how?" Mira asked. "Who knows we alive?" Tyler's jaw clenched. "Someone powerful. Someone who wants you dead badly enough to hire hunters." He checked the navigation computer. They were headed toward the second jump point, but he was already changing course. "We can't use the main routes anymore. Too dangerous." "Where we go?" Mira asked. "I know some people in Valoran space. Old resistance contacts. If anyone can help us, it's them." Tyler looked at the three sisters. "But I need to know something. Why would someone want you dead? What makes you three so important?" Mira and Sarah exchanged glances. Even little Tessa looked scared. Finally Mira spoke. "Mother was not just commander. She was council member. After war, she's supposed to help rebuild government." She touched her tattoo. "This mark is symbol of old families. Important families. We are last of Mother's line." Tyler understood now. These girls were not just refugees. They were symbols. Living reminders of the resistance. If they lived, they could become rallying points for Valora's recovery. But if they died quietly in some trafficking ring, forgotten and unnamed, then no one would ask difficult questions about what happened to the resistance leaders' families. Someone wanted the past buried. And these 3 girls were part of that past. Tyler set his jaw and locked in the new course. Then we make sure you survive. Your mother didn't die so you could disappear. Tyler changed course 3 times over the next 2 days, taking routes through empty space that added hours to their journey but kept them off the main shipping lanes. The girls stayed mostly in the common area, though Sarah spent increasing amounts of time in the cockpit with Tyler, learning the ship's systems. She had a natural talent for engineering that reminded Tyler of the best techs he had served with. Tessa, the youngest, was still weak. The infection in her foot was getting worse despite the antibiotics from the ship's medical kit. She needed proper treatment, but Tyler could not risk stopping at any major station. He did what he could, changing her bandages and making sure she drank enough water. Mira watched over both her sisters with the vigilance of someone who had been responsible for them too long. She barely slept. Tyler would find her sitting awake at odd hours, staring at nothing, her hand always near something she could use as a weapon. On the 3rd day they reached the edge of Valoran space. Tyler sent out an encrypted message on an old resistance frequency he had not used in 15 years. He did not know if anyone still monitored it. The war had been over for so long. People moved on, built new lives, forgot the things they fought for. But 6 hours later he got a response. The message was short. Coordinates and a time. Nothing else. Tyler recognized the location. It was a moon called Tarak, orbiting a gas giant in an uninhabited system. During the war, the Resistance had used Tarak as a meeting point. It was defensible and remote. Tyler set course and tried not to think about what would happen if this was a trap. They arrived at Tarak 18 hours later. The moon was small and gray, covered in impact craters. There was one structure on the surface, a small outpost built into the side of a cliff. As Tyler brought the ship down, he saw another vessel already landed nearby. It was a courier ship, fast and well-armed. Tyler landed 50 meters away and powered down the engines. He turned to Mira. Stay here with your sisters. Keep the ship locked. If anything goes wrong, you run. Understand? Mira shook her head. I go with you. Mira. My mother's people, she said firmly. I should be there. Tyler wanted to argue, but he saw the look in her eyes. This was not a request. He sighed and nodded. Fine. But Sarah, you watch Tessa. Don't open this door for anyone. Sarah nodded seriously. She had Tyler's pistol in her lap. He had shown her how to use it the day before. She was a quick learner. Tyler and Mira walked across the gray dust toward the outpost. The door opened before they reached it. A Valoran woman stepped out. She was tall, with a dark blue skin and silver markings typical of the Northern Territories. She wore simple clothes, but Tyler noticed the way she moved. Military training. She had been a soldier. The woman's eyes went to Mira and widened. She said something in rapid Valoran. Mira responded. The woman's hand went to her mouth. She knows you? Tyler asked. Mira nodded. She fought with my mother. Her name is Kaylin. Kaylin gestured for them to come inside. The outpost was small, just one room with a table and some chairs. 2 other Valorans were waiting inside. One was an older male with scars across his face. The other was younger, maybe in his 30s, with the look of someone who worked in politics now rather than combat. Kaylin spoke to them in Valoran, pointing at Mira. Both men stood up quickly. The older one approached Mira and spoke to her gently. Tyler saw tears in the man's eyes. He knew your mother too? Tyler asked. He was her second in command, Mira said quietly. His name is Dravok. They all sat down at the table. Kaylin brought water and some kind of Valoran food that Tyler did not recognize. Then they started talking. Kaylin spoke standard out of courtesy to Tyler, translating when the others used Valoran. We thought Thila's children were dead, Kaylin said. After the camps were raided, we searched. But we found nothing. No records. No bodies. Just empty shelters. The camp officials sold us, Mira said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. They took bribes from traffickers. We were not the only ones. The younger Valoran, whose name was Josen, slammed his fist on the table. This is exactly what we feared. The new government is too weak. Corruption has infected everything. Dravok shook his head. Not the government. The syndicates. They have grown powerful since the war ended. They profit from chaos. A strong, united Valora is bad for their business. What does this have to do with the girls? Tyler asked. Kaylin looked at him. You do not understand what these children represent. Thila was not just a commander. She was from the old council bloodline. Her family led resistance movements for 3 generations. When she died, many hoped her children would carry on that legacy. They are symbols, Josen added. If they live, if they grow up and speak out, they could unite the scattered resistance families. They could push for real reform. And that is why someone wants them dead, Tyler said. Yes, Kalen said quietly. The syndicates, the corrupt officials, the warlords who profit from instability, they all have reasons to want Thila's bloodline erased. As long as these girls exist, they are a threat to the current power structure. Tyler felt cold. He had thought rescuing them from the trafficker was the end of it. Get them home, find them somewhere safe. But there was no safe place. Not on Velora. Not anywhere in this sector. So what do we do? He asked. Dravok leaned forward. We have been building a network. Quietly. Former resistance members who still believe in what we fought for. We can protect the girls, but it will not be easy. They will need to stay hidden for years. Maybe forever. Mira spoke up, her voice sharp. Hidden? Like hiding in camps? Like being afraid every day? It is the only way to keep you alive, Josen said. No. Mira stood up. My mother did not fight so her children could hide. She wanted Velora to be free. Really free. Not just free from the Crithians, but free from anyone who uses fear to control people. Tyler watched her. 16 years old, and she sounded like her mother must have sounded. Like a leader. Kalen smiled sadly. You have her fire. But fire alone does not keep you safe. Tyler had been thinking while they talked. An idea was forming, something he had not considered before. It was risky. Maybe crazy. But it might work. There is another option, he said. Everyone looked at him. I adopt them, Tyler said. Legally. Under Earth military law. Dravok frowned. I do not understand. Tyler leaned forward. Earth has laws protecting military families. If I formally adopt these girls as my dependents, they become Earth citizens. They get protection from Earth's diplomatic corps. Any attack on them becomes an attack on Earth citizens, which means investigations, security, political pressure. But you are retired, Kalen said. Doesn't matter. I am still a veteran in good standing. I have the right to sponsor dependents for citizenship. It is in the Earth Defense Force Charter. I checked during our flight here. Josen shook his head. The syndicates will not care about Earth law. No, but governments will, Tyler said. Right now these girls are nobody. Refugees with no status. Easy to make disappear. But if they are Earth citizens, daughters of a decorated veteran, that changes everything. Every move against them becomes international. Visible. Kalen studied Tyler's face. Why would you do this? You barely know them. Tyler met her eyes. Their mother saved my life. She taught me what it meant to fight for something bigger than myself. I owe her. And I am not letting her children die in the dark because the galaxy forgot what she sacrificed. The room was quiet. Then Dravok spoke in Veloran to Mira. They had a quick conversation. Finally, Mira turned to Tyler. Sarah and Tessa, they are too young to decide. But I can speak for us. She paused, choosing her words carefully in standard. If you do this, you give us your name. Your protection. That is, very big thing. I know, Tyler said. Why you really do this? Mira asked. Truth. Tyler thought about it. The truth was complicated. It was guilt and duty and anger at a galaxy that let children be sold. It was respect for a dead commander and the memory of a war that mattered. It was also something simpler. In the past 3 days he had watched Mira protect her sisters. He had seen Sarah's quiet competence. He had heard Tessa laugh for the first time when he made a stupid joke. They were good kids who had survived things that would have broken most adults. They deserved better than hiding in shadows. Because it is the right thing to do, Tyler said finally. And because I think your mother would want you to have a chance at a real life. Not hiding. Not running. Actually living. Myra's eyes were wet, but she smiled. It was the first real smile Tyler had seen from her. Okay, she said. We are your daughters now. Tyler felt something shift in his chest. He had been alone for 15 years. No family. No real connections. Just drifting from job to job, system to system. Now he had 3 daughters. 3 Veloran girls who needed him. It was terrifying. It was also the best decision he had ever made. Kalen pulled out a data pad. We will help arrange the paperwork. It will take time, but we have contacts in Earth's embassy. We can make this official. Dravok nodded slowly. And we will spread the word through our network. Let it be known that Thila's children live. That they are under protection. It will send a message. It will also paint a target on them, Josen warned. They already have a target, Tyler said. At least this way they have armor too. They talked for another hour working out details. Tyler would take the girls to the Earth Embassy on Corvin Station. There, they would file the adoption papers and apply for citizenship. It would take weeks, maybe months. During that time, Kalen's network would watch for threats and gather intelligence on who was behind the bounty. When they finally left the outpost, the sky above Tarak was full of stars. Mira walked beside Tyler across the gray dust. "Tyler?" she said. "Yeah. Thank you. For everything." "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do," Mira said firmly. "You did not have to help us. Most people would walk away. But you did not. You saw Mother's mark and you stopped. That means something." Tyler did not know what to say to that. So he just nodded. When they reached the ship, Sarah and Tessa were waiting at the airlock. Sarah still held the pistol, but she lowered it when she saw them. "Everything okay?" she asked in her careful standard. Tyler looked at the three sisters. His daughters now. "Yeah," he said. "Everything is going to be okay." The journey to Corvin Station took 6 days. Tyler flew cautiously, avoiding populated routes and checking every ship that came within scanner range. Kalen had sent encrypted coordinates for safe houses along the way, places where they could refuel and rest without being noticed. The resistance network was smaller than it had been during the war, but the people who remained were loyal and careful. At Corvin Station, the Earth Embassy was a tall building made of white stone that looked out of place among the metal and plastic structures around it. Tyler had been to embassies before, usually to renew his veteran credentials or file reports after difficult jobs. He had never expected to walk in with 3 alien children and ask for citizenship papers. The embassy staff were professional but cautious. A human woman named Carol took their case. She interviewed each girl separately, documenting their stories. When Tessa, the youngest, showed the infected wound on her foot, Carol immediately called for a medical team. They treated Tessa in the embassy clinic while Tyler filled out paperwork that seemed to have no end. The adoption process was exactly as complicated as Kalen had warned. Background checks. Medical evaluations. Psychological assessments. Earth took citizenship seriously, especially when minors were involved. Tyler had to prove he could provide for the girls financially. He had to demonstrate stable housing. He had to pass security clearances that dug into every corner of his military service and civilian life. It took 3 months. During that time, they lived in temporary quarters at the embassy. The rooms were small but clean, better than anywhere the girls had stayed since leaving the refugee camps. Mira studied standard every day, her vocabulary improving rapidly. Sarah spent hours in the embassy's technical library, reading engineering manuals with an intensity that reminded Tyler of himself at that age. Tessa recovered slowly, both physically and emotionally. The doctors said her foot would heal, but she still had nightmares about the cargo hold and the traffickers' auction platform. Tyler found work doing security consulting for the embassy. It did not pay much, but it was enough. At night, he taught the girls about Earth culture, about the laws that would protect them, about what it meant to be part of a military family. They taught him about Valoran history, their mother's accomplishments, the traditions that defined their people. They became a family in those 3 months. Not quickly or easily, but steadily. Like building something meant to last. When the adoption papers finally came through, Carol presented them in her office with a small ceremony. She had even arranged for a Valoran official to attend, a representative from the new Valora government. Tyler signed his name on digital forms that would make Mira, Sarah, and Tessa Brooks legal citizens of Earth and his legal daughters. Mira cried when she signed her own name. Sarah smiled, which Tyler had learned was rare for her. Tessa just hugged Tyler's leg and would not let go. But the adoption was only the first step. The evidence they had gathered about the trafficking network and the corrupt camp officials needed to be presented officially. Kalen's network had compiled detailed records. Names. Transaction logs. Communications between camp administrators and syndicate members. It was enough to bring down a significant portion of the operation. The Valoran government requested that the girls testify before the Valoran Council. It would be public. It would be recorded. It would put their faces and names in every news feed in the sector. Tyler knew it was dangerous. The syndicates would see them, know where they were. But Mira insisted. People should know what happened, she said. Other children are still in camps. Still being sold. If we stay quiet, nothing changes. Tyler could not argue with that. They traveled to New Valora 6 weeks after the adoption was finalized. The planet was smaller than Earth, with purple-tinted skies and 3 moons visible even during the day. The capital city had been rebuilt after the war, though Tyler could still see blast scars on some of the older buildings. Construction crews worked everywhere, trying to restore what had been lost. The Valoran Council met in a circular chamber built into the side of a mountain. It was traditional architecture, the same style resistance leaders had used during the war when they met in hidden caves. Tyler appreciated the symbolism. This government was built on the foundation of those who had fought for freedom. The chamber was packed when they arrived. Council members sat in elevated seats arranged in a circle. Spectators filled galleries above. Cameras recorded everything. Tyler saw Kalen and Dravok sitting in the front row of the gallery, along with dozens of other Valorans wearing resistance symbols on their clothing. The council chair, an elderly Valoran female named Senna, called the session to order. She spoke in Valoran, but translators provided standard for Tyler's benefit. The proceedings were formal and slow, as government things always were. But when Mira, Sarah, and Tessa were called to testify, the room went completely silent. Mira spoke first. She stood at a podium in the center of the chamber, small and young but steady. She told the council everything. The refugee camp. The corrupt officials. The night they were taken. The cargo hold. The auction at Nexus Station. She named every official she could remember. Every guard who had looked away while children disappeared. Her standard was accented but clear. The translators converted her words to Valoran for those who needed it. Tyler watched the council members' faces. Some looked angry. Some looked ashamed. All of them looked like they were finally understanding the depth of the problem they had ignored. Sarah testified next. She was quieter than Mira, but her technical mind had noticed details others had missed. She described the ships used for trafficking, the routes they took, the communication frequencies the traffickers used. Her testimony provided evidence that tied the syndicate operations across multiple systems. Tessa was too young to testify formally, but the council allowed her to make a short statement. She stood at the podium barely tall enough to see over it and said in broken standard, "Bad people hurt us. But Tyler saved us. Now we are safe. Other children should be safe too." It was simple and devastating. Several council members were crying. Then it was Tyler's turn. He approached the podium and looked up at the council chair. "I am Tyler Brooks, retired Earth Marine, currently a security consultant working out of Corvin Station," he began. "I served with the Earth Defense Force during the Crithian occupation. For 8 months I operated under the command of Thela, leader of the 3rd Strike Unit of the Valoran Resistance." The room stirred at the mention of Thela's name. "Commander Thela saved my life and the lives of my entire unit when we were pinned down at Kethrick Bridge. She held that position for 6 hours with only 12 soldiers while our medics evacuated the wounded. I would not be standing here if not for her courage and tactical brilliance." Tyler paused, choosing his words carefully. "When I saw her daughters being sold at a trafficking station, I could not walk away. I owed their mother a debt I could never fully repay. But more than that, I saw 3 children who represented everything we fought for during the war. Freedom. Dignity. The right to live without fear." He looked at Senna directly. "The war ended 15 years ago, but the fight is not over. These girls should never have ended up in a trafficking ring. The fact that camp officials sold them, that syndicates operated openly, that bounty hunters were hired to eliminate them, this tells me that Valora is still not free." "Not really." Senna nodded slowly. "What would you have us do, Mr. Brooks?" "Investigate every refugee camp. Audit every official. Break the syndicate networks that profit from suffering. And protect the children who survived this nightmare so they can grow up and help rebuild the world their parents fought for." The council deliberated for 2 hours. Tyler and the girls waited in an antechamber. Mira paced. Sarah read technical manuals on her data pad, her usual method of dealing with stress. Tessa fell asleep with her head in Tyler's lap. When they were called back, Senna stood to address them. "The council has voted unanimously to launch a full investigation into refugee camp administration and trafficking networks operating within Valoran space. Arrests will begin immediately based on the evidence provided. We are also establishing a protection program for vulnerable children in camps, with oversight from both Valoran and Earth officials." She looked at Mira, Sarah, and Tessa. "To the daughters of Commander Thela, the council offers its deepest apology. You should have been protected. You were not. We failed you and countless others. That failure ends today." Then Senna did something unexpected. She came down from her elevated seat and approached the girls. She spoke to them in Valoran, her voice gentle. Tyler did not understand all the words, but he caught enough. She was thanking them, honoring their courage, promising that their mother's sacrifice would not be forgotten. Mira responded in Valoran, her head held high. Then she switched to standard so Tyler could understand. "My mother believed Valora could be better. I believe that too. We all do. The chamber erupted in applause. 1 year later, Tyler stood on the balcony of a small house in the hills outside New Velora's capital. The house had 3 bedrooms, a workshop for Sarah, and a garden where Tessa grew vegetables. It was not much, but it was theirs. Tyler had taken a permanent position training security forces for the new Veloran government. The resistance veterans trusted him, and the young recruits respected his experience. He was not rich, but he made enough to support his family. Inside the house, he could hear Sarah working on some project that involved a lot of banging and occasional cursing in Veloran. Tessa was in the garden, singing to herself while she watered plants. Her foot had healed completely, though she still limped slightly when it rained. Mira emerged onto the balcony carrying 2 cups of tea. She was 17 now, taller and stronger than when Tyler had first seen her on that auction platform. She still had nightmares sometimes, but they were less frequent. She attended university in the capital, studying political science and history. She wanted to work in government someday to help rebuild Velora properly. She handed Tyler one of the cups and leaned against the railing beside him. Council announced 15 more arrests today, she said. The investigation is still going. Good, Tyler said. Mira pulled up her sleeve, showing both tattoos on her arm. Her mother's resistance symbol was still there on her wrist. But above it, on her forearm, was a new tattoo. The insignia of the Earth Marines, Tyler's old unit designation incorporated into the design. She had gotten it 2 months ago for her birthday. Kalen called, Mira said. 3 more children were recovered from a trafficking ring in the outer territories. The protection program is working. Tyler smiled. Your mother would be proud. I think she would be proud of you too, Mira said quietly. You kept your promise. You brought us home. Tyler looked out over the purple hills of Velora. This was not his homeworld. But somehow, over the past year, it had become home anyway. He had 3 daughters who called him Dad in 2 languages. He had work that mattered. He had friends who trusted him. Some wars were won on battlefields. Others were won one rescue at a time, one child saved, one family built from the broken pieces of what came before. Commander Thela had fought so Velora could be free. Tyler was fighting so her daughters could actually live in that freedom. It seemed like a fair trade. Inside the house, Sarah's project exploded with a loud bang. Tessa screamed with delight. Mira sighed and headed inside to make sure nothing was on fire. Tyler followed his daughters inside, closing the balcony door behind him. The war was over. The fight continued. But for the first time in 15 years, Tyler was exactly where he was supposed to be. Home.